In a small coastal village, there lived a boy who dreamed between the sea and the sky. His name was Ethan. With eyes the color of the ocean and a heart full of adventure, Ethan spent his days by the shore, watching the waves move the rocks and imagining the mysteries hidden in the sea. But one question always puzzled him. When he threw rocks into the water, they sank quickly, yet the huge boats and ships he saw at the dock floated effortlessly. How could these massive structures stay afloat when a small stone sank so easily? No one could give Ethan an answer to his question. Everyone in the village would simply say, "That's just how ships float." One day, his grandfather Arthur, who had sailed the seas and gathered years of wisdom, called him over. "Come here, Ethan," said Arthur with a wise smile in his eyes. "Are you ready to learn the secret of the sea?" Ethan's eyes sparkled. Spending time with his grandfather was his favorite thing. Arthur was an old sailor, and he had many stories from his adventures at sea. Ethan learned something new from each story his grandfather shared, but this time he sensed it would be something truly different. That evening, Arthur told him they needed to get on a small sailboat. Ethan's heart beat with excitement. "This is your first step to becoming a great sailor," his grandfather said. "On this journey, I will reveal a secret. The secret of the floating island." "The floating island? What's that?" asked Ethan, amazed. "A floating island in the middle of the sea. But anyone who solves its mystery will never fear the sea again. This secret holds the key to understanding how ships stay afloat," explained Arthur. When they set sail, Ethan could feel the gentle waves rocking the boat. He held his grandfather's hand tightly. The sea stretched endlessly, a vast blue, and with each wave, Ethan's curiosity grew. After a while, Arthur said to Ethan, "Look, drop the piece of wood you're holding into the water. Watch what happens." Ethan released the piece of wood into the water. It floated. His face was full of wonder. "Grandpa, this wood doesn't sink. But if I threw a stone, it would go straight to the bottom." Arthur chuckled. "That's a very good observation. You might think the wood floats because it's light, but actually, the reason is that the wood can create a space for itself on the water's surface. It dips slightly into the water, allowing the water to push it up. This force is called buoyancy." Ethan scratched his head. "Buoyancy? How does water push something up?" Expecting this question, Arthur pulled a small ball from his pocket. "Push this ball into the water. Let's see what happens." Ethan pushed the ball down, and as soon as he let go, the ball popped back up to the surface. "This is so fun!" Ethan exclaimed in surprise. "That's how buoyancy works," explained Arthur. "Water pushes anything submerged back up, just like a swing. If you push the water down, the water pushes you up. This is why wood and ships float. They allow the water to push them up." Ethan was trying to grasp this idea, but his grandfather seemed eager to show him more. "Even our little sailboat here relies on buoyancy," he explained. "Its weight lets it sink just enough into the water to float, but not so much that it sinks. It stays balanced with the force of the water pushing it up." As they drifted on the sea, Arthur began telling a story. "The secret of the floating island lies in balancing weight with the buoyant force of the water. The island sinks slightly into the water, creating a space to float. Ships are designed based on this principle. If water fills the ship, or if it carries too much weight, it can sink." "So," said Ethan excitedly, "a ship makes a place for itself on the water's surface and the water pushes it up?" "Exactly," Arthur said proudly. "This is why ships are built wide. When they are wide, they take up more space on the water's surface, which helps balance them with the water's push. As long as they don't carry too much weight, they stay safely afloat." This explanation lit up Ethan's mind. So, a ship's ability to float isn't just about being light. It's also about its shape and how it stays balanced on the water, he said. Arthur nodded proudly. Sailor Ethan, you're starting to think like a real sailor. This journey that began with throwing stones has turned you into a discoverer of the sea's secrets. As the sun set, the sea now stretched beneath the sailboat like a deep blue blanket. Ethan, holding his grandfather's hand on the way back, was lost in thought about all he had learned. From then on, whenever he saw a ship, he would think of buoyancy, balance, and the magic of how it stayed on the water, realizing how fascinating the sea truly was. The next day, Ethan returned to the shore and made a small boat. It was wide and balanced, just like the big ships. He set it on the water and it floated proudly. Ethan now knew the secret of ships and understood that it was all about weight, balance, and buoyancy. This adventure taught Ethan not only the secret of floating ships, but also the wonder and beauty of science. Now his only dream was to one day explore the seas in big ships, just like his grandfather Arthur.